Hey guys, welcome to TruckCast number 4. Yes, I know this is on Instagram Live and I'm recording it there because I'm running behind and, well, I take that back. I recorded a podcast on Friday. I didn't really care for it, so I'm going to save it, may turn it out there sometime or another. But anyway, so doing it this way, heading down the road. Heading down 55 south outside of Jackson, on my way to Denham Springs, ready to get there. Been on the road since about 9 o'clock this morning. Been a good drive. Run through quite a bit of rain, but it's not been terrible. Anyway, yeah, so when I get done with this, I'm going to try to save it. I will put it on YouTube and post all the links and all that good stuff. It'll be on my channel. Hey, somebody joined me. That's pretty cool. Anyway, so number 4, yeah, wanted to talk a little bit about politics and left, center, right stuff, and things that I'm wrestling with in the current political climate. Growing up, I always considered myself to be extremely right-wing. Hell, until just the last few years, I've always considered myself to be extremely right-wing and conservative. But since the right has become more and more right, I guess, and more idiotic, I find myself more centered. And I don't mean that, as a spite against the right, because the left is, God knows what they're doing. When you come out and say you strongly support socialism, you've lost me. So I've ended up in the center, thanks to everybody being extremely left or extremely right. And it's kind of a neat place. Something I'm learning is that nobody wants to hear from anybody that's in the center. Everybody either wants to talk to people or listen to people that are extremely right-wing or extremely left-wing, and they only want to hear the talking points from each. They don't want to have anything questioned or anything, debated, and they've each got ways of controlling the argument so that if you get in a debate and they start to lose a little bit, they just throw out this blanket statement that just shuts everybody up, and it really ends the discussion. It's a terrible thing to do. It's almost like in a comic book when the main character of the book is about to die and you don't see any way out of it, and the writer just gives him a new superpower to overcome whatever obstacle he's facing. It's a cop-out. It's cheap. Anyway, I kind of feel that way about what's going on in politics right now. Mainly, you watch CNN and listen to their talking heads, and then you flip over to Fox News and you listen to their talking heads, and they're all saying the same damn thing. They're just on two different sides of it. And it's all about riling people up and playing with people's emotions. Hell, it's a manipulation game, I guess, to get ratings or clicks or likes or whatever they're looking for. I found podcasts and really enjoy listening to podcasts. I think it helps me sort some things out. Is if I use, let's say, Sean Hannity and Rachel Maddow, two completely different sides of the spectrum. They're both, shitty humans. I've never actually met either of them. They might be the greatest people in the world, but what they do with their platform, I just hit a butterfly. What they do with their platform is just wrong. It's painting everything as if the world is black and white, or as if American politics are black and white, or the economy's black and white. And hell, nothing's black and white. That's always go back to, and I wish I knew the study. If you're listening to this and want to bash me for not being able to reference things right, I apologize. But there's an old study that asked a bunch of kids pre-puberty if their mother was dying and the only way she could live is if their father stole this certain amount of medicine and gave it to her. Should he steal it or not? And 90% of the answers is no, stealing's wrong. Well, that's good. Then you get past puberty, and I may be wrong with the puberty, it might be a little younger than that, but once you get past a certain point, you ask them the same question, and it's, oh no, you should absolutely steal the medicine and keep the mother alive. So, where am I going with that? There is always gray area. Maybe stealing is always wrong, but maybe stealing in order to save a life might not be wrong, And you have to take everything like that and break it down and try to figure it out. One issue that I see every election cycle come up, and it's shared on Facebook a lot, and you get the memes, is the prayer in school. I am not an advocate for prayer in school, and it has nothing to do with my religious beliefs. It has everything to do with my belief that our Constitution and our Bill of Rights is the greatest thing in the world. I think it's allowed us to have the country we have, and we are getting away from it. We lose it. We allow little pieces of it to be taken every day by politicians, and I think struggling to hold on to it and maybe trying to get some of it back is the best thing we can do. But so prayer in schools, you see, what was it the other day? I saw one. It's if you support prayer in schools, share this. Well, what if I don't support prayer in schools? Honestly, why do you support prayer in school? And which prayer or which God do you support in school? So here's the thing about prayer in school. One, it is not illegal. It is in no way restricted or illegal for a student to pray in school, or a teacher, or a principal, or the damn custodian. Any individual in this world, in this country for sure, can pray to any God they want to at any time they want to. And that's awesome. As long as they are not trying to force their religion on another American. And that's where freedom of religion comes in. Our government can't force a religion on us. Another individual can't force a religion on us. A government paid employee cannot force their religion on us. So, when you say, yes, I support prayer in school, you need to, dig a little deeper in that. Find out, what is it that you support? Because, I love the old joke, as long as there's tests in school, there will be prayer in school. Little Johnny's going to say a prayer before he tries to solve that math problem for some guidance and some help. But I would hate for the principal of a school to be a member of, let's say, Al-Qaeda, maybe even a closeted member. But if prayer in school was legalized or recognized by the federal government or by the Constitution, then that school administrator can decide what kind of prayer he wants all of the students to recite, So, would you support prayer in school if the administration of the school was trying to force your kids to bow toward the north and pray to Allah 5 times a day? Because that's what allowing prayer in school leads to. Better yet, would you support prayer in school if the administration of the school followed the same religious ideas that, say, the Westboro Baptist Church follows? Or which sect is it that does the snake worshiping and lets the snakes bite them and then prays for healing powers? The venom doesn't, kill you. Because that's what, when you say, yes, I support prayer in school, that's what you're supporting. Not having prayer in school and not allowing prayer in school has nothing to do with infringing on your right to pray. It has nothing to do with your right to choose your God and pray to the God that you want to individually. It has everything to do with you forcing your religion on someone else. So, anyway, that's I wish when I saw these things posted on Facebook, I could go into these rants and type all that out, but it's too hard and it's too misconstrued, and people don't want to hear that. They don't want to think about a topic rationally. All they want to think about is, we can't post the 10 Commandments in a classroom anymore. Well, no, you can't, because not everybody in that classroom worships the same God as you, and no one has the right to tell them that they should worship the same God as someone else, or that they're wrong because they don't worship that God, or that one God is above another God in a classroom that's federally funded. And of course, you always get the arguments, well, what's so wrong with the 10 Commandments? There is absolutely nothing wrong with the 10 Commandments. Those 10 Commandments are great ways to live your life. There's not one of them that we should throw away. They're all wonderful, wonderful laws and rules. But they're already laws. They're already rules. We can post them in their legal context, and that would probably be fine. But when you post them as written onto tablets and attach the Judeo-Christian belief to it, then you are forcing your religion on someone that might not view or might not worship the same God as you. But that's what I mean by the talking points or the divisiveness. It's so easy for a talking head, say Hannity, bashing Hannity at the moment, to say, so you don't support prayer in school, and the interviewee to say, no, I really don't, and before he can explain himself, he'll be cut off, and so you don't think that our country was founded on Judeo-Christian beliefs? That's two different topics. That's apples and oranges. That's not a fair comparison and has nothing to do with each other. We have freedom from religion in this country, meaning that no individual can force their religion on another individual. It's that simple. There's a Oliver Wendell Holmes quote, and it's one of my favorites, and I think it's as American as you can get, and I'll probably butcher it, but it's my right to swing my fist ends where the other man's nose begins. To me, that's perfect. I have the right to worship and pray in any way I see fit until I've affected another person. And once I affect that other person, then I'm infringing on their right and the rights that they have, and that's wrong, and I should back away from it. Excuse me. Alright, so that's the right side of it, or an example of where I'm going to the center on everything. The left side of it, I saw one today that was, I think you have the right to be in this country even though you don't look like me. And of course, it's dealing with the current immigration state. And again, it's a blanket statement that doesn't give the proper gravity to the issue. Of course, everybody has. If you're in this country and you're a citizen, you have the rights that everyone else has, regardless of creed, color, skin tone, height, sex, weight, whatever, anything. But the idea that we should have open borders and just let everybody in, while euphoric in thought, euphoric's not the right word, while good in thought, good intention, it's naive. It's not feasible. There's bad people outside of the country, just like there's bad people inside of the country, and we don't want to let them in. Moreover, we want to hold on to our own culture. And yes, we have a culture. America has a culture. So, I know we're young, not even 300 years old yet. But we have an American culture. And if you don't think we do, go somewhere else in the world and ask them to stereotype an American. We have a culture. And I, for one, think it's a great culture. I think what the country was founded on is amazing. I think the fact that we're rebellious, and we buck authority is a virtue. I think the fact that we're hardworking and strive to innovate and, do all that we can to advance and better ourselves as a society. All of these are great things, and they're part of an American culture. And opening up the borders and just letting everyone come rushing in diminishes our culture. Yes, I think immigration is extremely important and wonderful, and I would like to see the entire system get cleaned up to make it easier to get in. I think going to a first come, first served visa program is an excellent idea. I don't think that we should be selective on who we let in and who we fast track. Selective on who we let in is not right. I don't think that we should fast track citizenship to someone just because they have more merit on paper than someone else, or a better resume, if that's making any sense. So I definitely think it should be first come, first served. But I think when you come into this country and you want to become a citizen, that means, yes, you are an American. You're not an Irish American or an Italian American. You're not a Spanish American or a Mexican American or an African American. You're an American, and you're signing on to be an American and uphold our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, our rules. You're signing on to be a contributing member to society. You're signing on to, sadly, let go of the pride you had in the country you came from and accepting pride for the country that you're entering. I don't think that's unfair. I don't think that's wrong to ask. I think that is what the guidelines should be to get into the country legally. So to make a blanket statement, or to look at immigration as, you support a border wall, or you support ICE raids, or you support enforcing current immigration laws, then you must hate Mexicans. No, that's trying to control the argument by, it's straw man. It's a straw man argument. It's setting up barriers and belittling my opinion, or oversimplifying my opinion to make yours look better. And it's wrong, and the left does it exceedingly well. I remember Glenn Beck wrote a book a few years back when he still had a little more validity than he does now. I believe that the title was Arguing with Idiots, and one of the things he said in it is, hey Patrick, if you can control the verbiage people use, then you can win any argument. And that's really, really true, and the left has done such a good job of controlling verbiage and doing it under the guise of racism. We can't even have a conversation about black and white relationships in the country anymore without instantly being labeled a racist. They've also managed to convince a good bit of the population that if you're anything but a white male, you can't be racist, which is just unbelievable. But it's all attempts to control verbiage and control the argument so that they can set up these straw man arguments and win at any point, because they leave you nowhere to go. The left, democratic socialism, I love that one. Socialism is socialism. There's not any way to get around it. And we are a capitalist nation with certain socialist ideas. And, one of the things that I think we should do as a populace is try to limit the amount of socialism that we let in. There always needs to be some social aspects. If there didn't need to be some, we wouldn't have a government. We wouldn't need the federal government. And we do. But I look at simple definitions. Simple definition of capitalism: the government provides for services that can't be performed by the population at a profit. Examples used to be the Postal Service, and FedEx and UPS has proved that shit wrong. Roads and bridges, infrastructure, and protecting the borders. Whereas socialism is the government seizes the majority of production and doles out to the population what they see that they need. And, I guess in certain instances I can see where a true socialist form of government looks great on paper, but it's never worked. It never will work because of the best adage in the world is power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. There always has to be somebody in charge, and whoever is in charge may start off with the best of intentions, but it will go wrong. The corruption will come in, and people will die, and that's. I heard Jordan Peterson the other day was talking about risk takers, and how did he put it? I'm gonna butcher it, and I apologize to the man. I think he's great, and definitely not trying to put words in his mouth. But creative people take more risk, whereas, the more conservative people don't. They make not even smarter bets. Smarter bets is not the right word, but they play the odds more. And if you've ever played Hold'em or Texas Hold'em, you play odds. The more you play the odds, the more you win. If you play the odds, you will always eventually win out. As long as you've got enough money to stay in the game, you will eventually win by playing the odds. Now, on the other side, the flip side, the creative mind might, draw the 2-3 or the 2-4 and play it out. No, what's the worst hand? 2-7. And play it out to the end and hope to make something out of the river. Do they always lose? Absolutely not. Sometimes they win. And when you do win, you're going to win big. But the majority of the time, you are going to lose. And now, I'm using poker. Poker, you might not lose that much. You might lose your ante. You might lose pennies. You might lose a couple $1 million if you're playing in the right games. But you get to walk away from the table in most instances. When we're talking governments and creative lawmakers, taking those types of risk, betting on socialism, betting on communism, betting on government-controlled facets of life, come with unbelievable risk. What do I mean? Hell, Hitler's fascist Russia, How many people had to die because they took a risk, or he took a risk on a government form that, yes, it absolutely got them out of an economic ruin after World War I. Yes, it put them on the world stage as a superpower. But how many millions of people had to die for that? Right. So Hitler, history-wise, is the most notable, probably the worst case. But let's talk about another one. Let's go back to the Bolsheviks. So Lenin had this great idea for a government of united workers. And so we had the Bolshevik Revolution, and then we had the USSR. Great idea, How'd it work out? It was a gamble that worked for a little while. And between Lenin and Stalin and the start and the fall of the USSR, how many millions of people died there? These weren't government systems that were put in place by bad people that ultimately failed. These were just government systems that are destined to fail every time they're implemented. Right now, you can see it failing in Venezuela. Let's go with China's leap forward. How many millions did that kill? So yeah, when you've got 20 Democratic presidential candidates and all of them are vowing to support democratic socialism, I get a little scared. I move as far away from that left as I can, because that is, whew. Go watch some documentaries on World War II. Go see how many people died. Or just look at some pictures of them stacking Jewish bodies up and burning them. That's what giving the government ultimate control does. That's what happens. And that is what socialism is. It's giving the government control. So if you support it, if you think it's a great idea because they're going to take away your college debt, or they're going to give everybody health care, or they're going to right the wrongs and injustices by the right against brown people, go do your homework. Go look at some history, and try to correlate that socialism is socialism. There is no way around it, and bad people will work their way to the top, and we will all starve to death and die. I'm not trying to fearmonger. That's what has happened throughout history. So, yeah. Anyway, back to the whole thing of moving to the center. So, right now, I see that the Democrats are pushing for open borders, healthcare for all. Some of them are going with this universal basic income, which is, I don't understand why people don't realize that zero is a placeholder. So if I have $5 and you have $5 and someone is selling something for $10, then we would be just as good to have $0 and $5. I'm not saying that exactly right. Zero moves. Zero is a placeholder. It has no value. So if everybody in the country is given $1,000 as a universal basic income, then all of our goods and services is going to go up by $1,000. That is the way economics work. So no, a universal basic income is asinine. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the government-funded abortions either. I think there's much better ways of birth control. Do I think all abortion should be illegal and wrong, and the doctor be prosecuted for doing one, and the mama be ridiculed for having one? Absolutely not. So again, kind of in the center. But in today's climate, we're not allowed to be in the center. I'm not allowed to have an opinion that says, okay, well, in this instance, I think an abortion would be a good idea on one side, and on the other side, I'm not allowed to say, no, you should not use abortion as birth control. And that's scary. It makes me wonder how we got there. And I know, all the left-wing people, oh, it's Donald Trump, he's done it. No, the hell he didn't. We've been moving down this road for a long, long time. I don't know exactly when it started. If you look back at FDR, you look at some of the policies that he put into place, it may have started then. With buying votes through giving people free things and ensuring work and trying to stack a Supreme Court. I know a lot of people say it might have started with Wilson. I don't know much about the Wilson presidency. I'd like to look more into it. But the fact is, our politicians are skeezy. One of the best examples I love is to hear gay people talk about the Clintons and how great they are and how great the Democratic Party is. When Bill Clinton signed into law the Freedom of Marriage Act that defined marriage between a woman and a man just so that he could come out and be against it to get the votes of gay people. You're being played, and it's odd to me. I don't understand. I don't understand why we don't, as a society, see what our politicians are doing to us and the means and methods that they use to do it with. Promoting safety and selling us a bill of goods on all this stuff. Said gay people or homosexuals. And when I say gay people, please, I'm not trying to be offensive at all. If you prefer to be called homosexual, I'm cool with that. I just don't know anymore what to call people. But the right does it just as much with the Patriot Act and the TSA and Homeland Security. You want to talk about some of the biggest invasions to privacy this country has ever seen. The Patriot Act is just scary, the power it gave the government, the power they seized by writing it into law. And it's one of those things, I would have liked to have seen Obama let die. How'd that work out? But I am a Trump supporter. I need to get that out there. Whoop. About lost the phone now. So I am a Trump supporter. I think he's doing a fine job as president. So what do I mean by that? The economy is... Damn. Didn't think I'd catch it. The economy is awesome. Unemployment is awesome. Jobs outlook is great. Bear with me, I'm trying. I hope everybody's enjoying this. There we go. Alright, so, yeah. Jobs are good. Unemployment's good. Public opinion on the direction of the country is good. There we go. A little different view. So all these things are good, everything is going smooth right now. Our trade deals are working out. Everything that he's done that, the opposition said, oh, you can't do this, they'll never go for it. Well, shit, they went for it, and it's working out, and it's doing great, and that's awesome. This is good. Y'all might can see Zeus here in a minute. Pop his head up. So yeah, I do support Trump. I think he's doing a great job. But again, because I support Trump, I'm not allowed to say, no, Trump, you do not have the right to tell a damn congresswoman or representative to go back to the country she came from when you don't even know where she damn came from. It's stupid stuff like that. Surely to hell there is somebody in the White House that can follow him around at night and say, look, man, just put the phone down. Just put it down. Don't tweet. Don't do it. So, yeah, I've got some faults with him. But right now, the good that he's done is outweighing the faults tremendously. And I understand that that is a difference of ideological content. Whenever he did the whole grab him by the pussy thing, I thought that was funny because to me that's bathroom talk. That's men's locker room talk. And I guess what made it funny to me is I heard so many people say, well, I'm a man and I've never said anything like that in my life. And you can scroll back through their news feed and find where they've said things just as offensive. But I could care less what he says when he thinks he's off camera and talking to one of his buddies. Because I say some things that I shouldn't say, and I do it in a joking manner, and it's ridiculous. So, to me, that's on this level of offensiveness. Ensuring that the economy is great and people are working on infrastructure is way up here on the way to go, guy. Keep that shit up. So, you got to weigh it out. I understand that some people don't give a crap about having a job and how the economy's doing. Granted, most of these people don't have a job and are leaning on other people to take care of them. But I definitely understand why they would be more offended that he uses foul language. I'm personally not. What I'm more offended by is Bernie Sanders saying that he wants to eliminate all college debt. There is no such thing as eliminating debt. Debt cannot be eliminated. It's like having a negative distance. It doesn't exist. Debt can only be transferred. Transferring debt from a student to the United States Treasury is not eliminating debt. It's letting people that didn't sign up for that debt pay for it. Now, before anybody says it, yes, I was just as outspoken against Bush and his bailout. I think that was the biggest mistake we have ever made, and it will lead to a massive recession eventually because we've yet again propped up our economy when it shouldn't have been propped up. It's kind of like burning the undergrowth in a forest. Sometimes it has to happen, and the longer you put it off, the worse the fire is going to be. Excuse me. So, what have we talked about? I am a centrist, although I am a right-leaning centrist, I guess. But a lot of the things the right hold in high regard or use as their talking points, I don't agree with. I don't think that the military should be given carte blanche. I think they need to operate with the same oversight anyone else would. I do think we need to have the biggest and strongest military in the world, and that our armed service members should have every, not every want, but every need addressed. I think the VA system needs to be much better than it is. The pay system should probably be better than it is. Discharge should be, that whole process should be much better than it is. But should our military consume enough of our GDP to make them 10 times better than the next closest military? No. We can ramp up. We could ramp up if we needed to. We did it in both world wars, and that worked out great for us. So I do think there needs to be some oversight on military spending. Now, here, this is my big left-leaning view of late, is I think we should take some military spending and spend it on coming up with a better system for helping our citizens with mental health issues. I understand that, the Reagan-era asylum system was not good, but I don't think disbanding it completely was the right thing to do. I think there are many, many people walking the streets every day, sleeping under bridges, homeless, starving, and I don't want to say being a burden on society, because I don't mean it as in I'm harboring any ill will, but there are people that have mental problems that have no other choice right now but to be homeless and live under a bridge. That's not right. We have enough in this country that we can take care of those people. We can come up with some institutions to give them a place to stay and to live out their lives with some type of comfort. Think of the living hell it would be to have even, a mild schizophrenia that prevents you from having a job, a family, a relationship, and you lose everything. that person needs help, right? And we need to help them. They are Americans, damn it. They're not the scourge of the earth. They're Americans, and we should help them because they can't help themselves. Now, do I think that everybody should get welfare and be taken care of? No, absolutely not. If you can support yourself and just choose not to, starve to death. Goodbye. But I do believe that we have enough of a pie that everybody can have a piece, and we should share it. I think the military's getting a little too much of a piece right now. So, and that's another odd thing. I don't want that to be misconstrued as I support redistribution of wealth, because I do not. I support a redistribution of the tax dollars that our government collects. Two completely different things. As far as people in the private sector go, I believe that, so I'm straight up stealing this from a Barbell Shrugged episode. And it's an idea or concept, and this is one that, so everything that I take away from people on the left side of the aisle or people with the socialist ideas is that they feel like there's a finite I don't even know what to call it. Let's just call it the pie of success. That the pie of success is finite. And that in order to make someone's slice bigger, they have to take from someone else's slice. Meaning that, this person is poor, and in order for him to not be poor, we have to take away from this rich person's. And that's just not the case. And it's a very, very bad way to look at things, when we should always look at it as, how do we make the pie of success bigger? How do we make the pie bigger so that everyone gets a bigger slice? That's what we're all after. And there's better ways of doing it. A lot of people talk about how do you address urban areas and inner cities where, growing up in these extremely hard environments, low income, is almost generational. And that is a tough one. Throwing money at it is not the answer. It doesn't work. It's been tried, time and time again, and the people that are charged with passing out the money keep the money. And the poverty levels continue to rise. But how do you take someone that's grown up and say they're second or third generation welfare and on the system or in the system, and show them that, hey, you can have a better life, you just need to make these decisions and go down this path? It's very hard to do. And one of the things that makes it even harder to do, and let me go ahead and get this out of the way. I try my best to not be racist in any way. If I say something that is racist, I don't mean it that way, and please point it out to me so that I can choose my wording better the next time I talk about the subject, or point it out to me so that I can make the decision whether or not it is racist or I feel that it's racist. An example of what I mean by that is wage gap. If you come at me and tell me that there is a wage gap between men and women in this country, I will tell you there's not. Because the whole 70 cents on the dollar that has been presented to us does not take into account hours worked, profession, or career goals. And once you add those factors into the statistics, the wage gap disappears completely, or at least falls in between the plus or minus tolerance of the surveys. So, anyway, that's just an example, not a topic I want to get onto. But I never intentionally try to be racist, and if I am, I like to have it pointed out to me. And I'll talk more about that in a second. But going back to the what do we do in urban situations, or how do we overcome that? Because the left has painted this picture, again, in order to control verbiage and control the argument against the right. If I'm talking with a young black man about steps he could take to better himself, I'm instantly labeled as the racist white patriarch asshole, you know? So when I say things like, you need to finish high school no matter what, then it's, oh, well, you think because I'm black, I'm going to drop out of high school. No. But that is an argument that we've all been conditioned to hear because it's been screamed by the left wing over and over again. It's the whole being painted as a victim. Candace Owens, there's a lot of things that Candace Owens does that I don't agree with, because she is definitely becoming a talking head for the right. But one thing that she does do really well, and I applaud greatly, is pointing out that the Democratic Party wants African Americans in this country to feel victimized so that they can control opinion and control the argument in order to get the votes. And even if it's not to get the African American vote, it's to ensure that no one on the right side of the aisle gets the African American vote. So they paint this picture that no matter what, you're a victim. And, you know, this is... the universe wants to squelch life. We are all victims of something. At some point, we have all been victims. Luckily, life is resilient, and we are resilient, so we overcome. But to refuse advice or help, or refusing to try to advance and better oneself because a political group, in this case I'm talking directly about the Democratic National Committee, the DNC, has told you over and over and over again, you cannot succeed. You cannot succeed because white people are going to hold you down. You cannot succeed because white people are going to hold you down. Is terrible. It's disgusting, and I don't understand how they get away with it. It frustrates me to no end. You know, some of it just, I don't know. I don't understand how the Democratic Party gets away with what they do. I don't understand how they can put a white woman as the head of the NAACP, calling herself a black woman that loses her job when she gets found out that she's white, only to become the head of the DNC. You know, I don't understand that. I don't understand how they can get away with stealing the primaries from Barry Sanders. And good Lord, I'm not a Bernie Sanders. I'm not a Bernie fan at all. But he was done extremely wrong by the DNC, and nobody said anything. The people are still supporting them. But anyway, the inner city things. That is a very difficult problem, and I don't have a good solution to it. I know that throwing money in it doesn't work. It has never worked. We've tried it and tried it and tried it and tried it, and it doesn't work. some of the most saddest moments I've had has been seeing little kids play in these inner city areas, and they're so happy. You know, they're out playing and they're enjoying their life. And I just worry that, okay, well, how are you going to get out of this? And I think we need to really come together and work on a way to get out of it, you know, to ensure that there is a better future. A better path forward, a better path to success. And I'm saying inner city because that gets the most publicity. But let me tell you, growing up in small towns and small areas, there are some trailer parks that are just as generational and just as bad off as any inner city area I've ever seen. And that's another one that it's the same situation. You know, you go 3 or 4 generations in these low-income trailer parks where you're taught to live off of the system and how to work the system from such an early age that that's all you know. You're taught that it's okay to not work. And I'm talking about the places that I grew up right now. Northeast Mississippi, some of the poorest areas in the world. And you know, talking to 18 and 19-year-olds that were trying to figure out how to get on disability, because going out and getting a job and working was considered the wrong thing to do. That's what we have to get over. And bickering over, well, you can't say that because it's racist, or you can't go into these areas and promote this because it's racist. It's not right. We have to stop letting politicians control the argument, and we have to try to make a difference. We have to try to make things better. You know, kids don't ask to be born into these situations, and they're as much an American as I am. And it's our job as an American, or as Americans, to take care of each other. That's what we do. It's what we need to do. So yeah, I've probably said some things I shouldn't and misspoke. But what I'm trying to say is, we have to stop letting the left and the right put us at each other's throats. And we have to stop letting them promote this tribalism, and we have to come up with ways to make things better. We have to make it better for the kids that are coming up. You know, we were talking with a buddy of mine the other day, and he made the statement. We were talking about a young girl that we both care immensely for, and see her going down the liberal side of things. And he was joking, of course, but made the statement, well, in 80 years, I'm not going to be here, so it don't matter. And that's true. In 80 years, I'm not going to be here either. But I sure do hope that there are people still here, and I hope that they carry on our society, and I hope that they keep advancing our culture and advancing as humans. I mean, we're still evolving. We're still making things better. I hope that that's not done with. So, you know, I care a whole lot, and I know that's a left-wing view, you know, to care about people and to want people to have better outcomes. I think that's, you know, if it had to be wrote down on a piece of paper, that would be a left-wing idea, because, you know, I love the idea of, yeah, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But sometimes that just don't work. It can be done, and yes, everybody needs to work on their own betterment. But everybody deserves an opportunity, and everybody deserves a little help along the way. And a little help along the way is not going to hurt anything as long as it's done in the right manner. You know, we've got a system right now where we're selling Social Security numbers at tax season so that we can get more unearned income credits. And we're selling our EBT grocery cards or our Louisiana purchase cards for cents on the dollar so that we can have some cash instead of a grocery card. That system is flawed. It needs to be worked on. Throwing more money at that system, that's not working on it. That's just continuing the bad. So we need to come up with a better way. And if it means reallocating some government resources, then I think that's fine. You know, I think we need to have that discussion. And that's, you know, tying back into, I'm using military spending, but it's all of the you know, the right-wing guys are supposed to be physically conservative, and they're not. They just want to blow all the money in a different place. So, yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with redistributing the revenue that the government generates from our tax dollars. But if you say that, or if you mention it to somebody, the first thing you get, oh, you're anti-military. No, I'm not anti-military at all. But maybe some military funding and spending could be cleaned up a little bit. Maybe we could free up some money to put somewhere else and use somewhere else. Hell, maybe we could use it toward education. You know, I remember a few months ago, oh Lord, I'm sorry, I can't even remember her title. She's Trump's appointed education secretary, I guess. And of course she caught a lot of flack because she's not been a teacher or something like that. But she, excuse me, presented a budget that defunded the Special Olympics. And people were up in arms. I mean, went crazy over it. Because they let someone create an emotional argument that didn't need to be there. So instead of looking at it as, why was part of our education budget going to the Special Olympics, a fully privately funded through donation program that doesn't need any federal income, instead of asking that question, it was, well, why are you against the Special Olympics? That's base. You know, hell, you want to talk about being basic? That's basic. We have to start looking deeper than that. The Special Olympics doesn't need federal funding because they do an excellent job of going out and getting private funding. So why not take that money from the federal government and instead of giving it to the Special Olympics, put it back into the education budget where it's needed, with maybe some teachers' aides or smaller classroom sizes, or I don't know, here's an idea. Let's increase the working median income of teachers. Who would have ever thought of such? But you know, and again, you know, if certain individuals listen to this, they'll, oh, well, there's old John Hendricks. He's against the Special Olympics. I am absolutely not against the Special Olympics. I will donate to them myself. But the federal government shouldn't be. Not if they don't need the money. The federal government should be putting the money where it needs to go and where it will serve the best interest. And the best interest is putting it back into the education budget. I'm not defending the lady, you know, that presented the budget. I don't know enough about the education system at that level to be for or against her. So not, you know, I'm not promoting her or trying to take anything away from her. I'm just using that as an example. And you're faced with those arguments all the time. The left does it, the right does it, and we need to fix that. Don't really know how to. I'm trying to think of another one I heard the other day that really bothered me. Sorry about that. Phone dropped, and I think I run out of service. But anyway, yeah, so that was a long rant, and I apologize for it, talking about politics. That is the 4th TruckCast. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I say, I'm going to post it to YouTube. I'll try to share it to Facebook soon. Would love to hear comments, feedback, conversations. When it comes to the political stuff, I would love to get somebody in the truck beside me, you know? Well, passenger seat's full right now, but you know, I'd love to hash out some topics of ideology between the left and right and try to point out the bullshit arguments when they arise. Anyway, give me a follow and a like. It's Hendrix302 on Instagram, Hendrix302 on Facebook. Hell, I think it's Hendrix302 on YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, please. Give me a thumbs up if you like it. Hell, give me a thumbs down if you don't. And as always, constructive criticism is appreciated and helpful. And hit it like you live.